Bold liars like Casey Anthony or O.J. Simpson can just make up a story on the spot. Calculating liars like Chris are more manipulative. They'd rather divert the conversation to avoid lying in the first place. For example, if they're faced with an incriminating question, they might start crying or storm off, or even arguing with their accuser to put their accuser on the defensive. This is a common manipulation tactic. It's called U2. The U2 technique works because our instinct is to immediately defend ourselves. And when we do, the manipulator takes full advantage to wriggle off the hook. The officers interviewing Chris here are trained, so arguing with them is unlikely to work. However, I'll let you in on a little secret. Chris has been using another common manipulation technique to evade their questions. He's been doing it for the past couple minutes, and they haven't picked up on it. Is Chris Watts a master manipulator, a victim of manipulation, or both? I'm Deception Detective, an attorney trained in statement analysis, and this channel exposes lies and manipulation. Today we'll analyze a rare 2019 interview for signs that Chris Watts is a master manipulator, a victim of manipulation, or both. This interview was uploaded by a friend of the channel, Watts the Obsession. To continue this series, let's get this video to 50,000 views, or you can become a channel member and vote on who we analyze next in my member poll. The link to join is also in the description. Without further ado, let's listen.
But she's a completely new type of person and relationship. Yeah. Okay. All right. What were you thinking this whole time? Like,
in the back of my head, I was just telling myself, "What are you doing?" Like, every time, I open up my phone, I can see pictures, like, of my wife and my kids. I'm just like, "What am I doing?" And then, like, every time I was with her, it seemed like I didn't think. It seemed like it was like a blinder that was in my face.
oh,
And it was like every time I look back on it, like, like I have pictures of my wife and kids and myself. And like every night, or every morning, every night, I just, talk to them, say like I have like this book I used to read for CC, and I remember that book. So I read that to them like every night. And like there's some scripture and stuff that I read to them. So I just try to think back. Like I wish this never happened. And it's like I wish that blinder wasn't on my head, wasn't in my eyes. That would have seen what was going on. Like, I was everybody said, "Oh, you're just out there having fun while your kids, or kids and wife are on vacation." I'm just like, no, it wasn't like that. But it seemed like that's.
In part one of my Chris Watts analysis, I determined that he exhibited enough psychopathic traits to be treated as one, even though I can't personally diagnose him because I'm not a clinician. For example, you'll notice here how he takes zero responsibility for anything he did with Nicole because he had these blinders on. He also shows no remorse for what he did or empathy for those who are still hurting because of it, like Shanann's relatives. This video isn't about whether he is or isn't a psychopath. Instead, in this video, I want to point out the techniques he uses to manipulate people into seeing him as a victim. Because even if he hasn't fooled you or me, he is a master manipulator, and these tactics are common with manipulators you're likely to encounter in your own life.
That's what it looks like when you're going, you're going to camping, going to drag race, going all the other stuff that you have fun doing, but you're with somebody else. It's not your family. It just didn't seem right. And, with her, it just didn't seem like I could even see that anymore. I was there at her house pretty much every night. So it was like I didn't have that time at home just to really think about anything. Because literally, I didn't, I was only at home from like when I got home from work. I worked out, I ate dinner, and then I went over to her house. Like I never slept in my house, like the whole month of July.
now talking through that though, when you said you went home and then you were at her house, was that while Chanel was gone? Oh, okay. So you weren't even at your house.
No,
This all happened so quickly, didn't it?
it was insane quickly. Like I didn't she even told me like she would never, in like a normal relationship, she would never have somebody over at her house like more than like once or twice a week, but she felt like she wanted me over there.
Yeah.
She said she felt comfortable over there.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what was different. Like she wanted me there, but
She wanted me there. Notice how Chris subtly shifts all the blame for him sleeping at Nicole's house onto Nicole, as if he had zero say in the matter. This manipulation tactic appropriately is known as blame shifting. And the most common example is when kids get caught doing something wrong and they say, well, mom, dad, everyone was doing it. Their goal, of course, is to derail a conversation about what punishment they should get into a stern lecture about peer pressure and how they need to think for themselves. And often it works. They escape punishment. And that is the power of shifting even just a little bit of blame onto others. If you've ever watched a trial, you'll know that criminals blame everything from society to addiction to their childhood for crimes that they committed. In part one, I shut down Chris's egregious attempts to shift blame for the murders onto his wife, Shanann. Shanann Watts was a victim in this tragic event, not the perpetrator, and I am opposed to contributing to Chris's attempts to garner sympathy by assigning even one iota of blame to her without undeniable proof. As I often emphasize in my videos, psychopaths are highly skilled at making themselves appear as the victim. Later in this video, I'll address Chris's attempts to shift blame for the murders onto Nicole.
I ate dinner and then I went over her house. Like I never slept in my house. Like the whole month of July.
Now, talking through that though, when you said you went home and then you were at her house, was that while Chanel was gone? Oh, okay. So you weren't even at your house.
No,
This all happened so quickly, didn't it?
it was insane quickly. Like I didn't like. She even told me like she would never, in like a normal relationship, she would never have somebody over at her house like more than like once or twice a week. But she felt like she wanted me over there.
Yeah.
She said she felt comfortable over there.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what was different. Like she wanted me over there, but then I just wish that all that would just go away. I just wish I almost like I know it's hard to, I know it's wrong to say I wish I'd never met somebody, but I wish I'd, maybe met her at work and then just kept it that way.
I think if we had a time machine, I don't think this would happen again. Because some people, when this happens, you're like, well, if it wasn't this time, it would have been next time, or it would have been the next time. It just wouldn't have happened with you, would it? And it happened so quickly that you tell me if I'm wrong. You're not the type of guy to take control sometimes when you need to. Yeah, it seems like that's just what happened.
Yeah, I didn't take control of the situation. It was like the situation controlling me.
Right, it just happened. No, I get that, man. I'm somewhat passive myself, and it's like, there's situations where I'm like, well, why did I let that keep going? No.
Yeah, I don't know why. It was like a roller coaster ride that I just kept punching and taking off and just never get up. Yeah.
Watts the Obsession has conveniently put the names of all the interviewers here in the description of the video we're reacting to. And they come from 3 different departments. So there's FBI's Graham Coder, CBI, so Colorado Bureau of Investigation's Tammy Lee, and Frederick Police Department's Detective Dave Baumhover. One of the most common comments I saw on my previous video was people criticizing them for being too chummy with Chris. And while I understand the indignant outrage about them being buddy-buddy with a guy who just killed his entire family 3 months ago, that is the job. Like it or not, making Chris comfortable is the best way to get him to reveal any undisclosed details about the murders, if there are any, and that appears to be the entire reason they visited him in prison. I actually wrote about this in the DD Forum patron section when I was preparing to interview the Proudfoots as part of my Sebastian Rogers series, before they stonewalled me. And that's because I knew anyone who watched that interview would have thought that I had gone soft or had been fooled by them because I was being so friendly. And just like these detectives are doing here, playing along with Chris to make it easy for him to open up. In fact, I would have done lots of the manipulation tactics for them, like rationalizing what they did if they did anything wrong, or blame shifting what they did if they did anything wrong onto society or someone else. In other words, I assure you these detectives are not charmed by Chris or fooled by him. They're playing along with what he's saying in order to get him to open up. And when I hit play, listen closely because they're about to ask him about the night of the murders, which is what I think this entire interview has been leading up to.
No, I get that, man. I'm somewhat passive myself, and it's like, there's situations where I'm like, well, why did I let that keep going? No.
Yeah. I don't know why it was like a roller coaster ride that I just kept punching it, taking off, and just never picked it up.
Yeah. We talk about the hardest subject. So when we were talking, the last time we talked, the last thing we talked about was where the girls were.
Mm-hmm.
We never really got to talk about that night. What happened?
So nothing really happened that night. It was in the morning. And it was, me and Shanann, she got home like at 2:00. And, I felt her get into bed. And like, I just felt like I didn't really, but I just made sure I looked at my phone at 2:00 and make sure she looked like she's in there. And I could kind of feel her kind of stirring around a little bit. I just had a feeling that she knew like what was going on. I mean, obviously, I didn't use like an Interco gift card, that I got, and I used my actual credit card, and I kind of just felt like she knew what was going on, and she started rubbing her hand on me, and we ended up having sex. But I guess that was more like a test.
Well,
I would have thought.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because when we talked, when I woke up for later on in the morning, like, I pretty much, told her, like, I didn't think it was going to work anymore. And she was like, what happened? What was last night?
Mm-hmm.
So I figured that's what caused the test after I've gone through everything in my head.
That makes sense.
And she just told me, like, to get off of her. And she was like, I knew there was somebody else. I knew there was somebody else. And there was somebody else. I couldn't just say, yes, there is somebody else. But then she said, never going to see the kid again. Never going to see them again. Get off me. Don't hurt. And then,
Is that what you said?
that was good. Like when I climbed in bed, that was pretty much like on top, pretty much like straddling her.
Okay.
Because she thought I was going to, like, hurt her or baby or something. So
Listen to the words that Chris uses, right? I was pretty much on top of her. That night, nothing really happened. In part one, I showed how Chris used minimizing adverbs to downplay his involvement in the affair with Nicole. And here he's using another manipulative grammatical structure to downplay his violence against Shanann, and that is exclusion qualifiers. So, what is an exclusion qualifier? It's probably something you've encountered in your own life from a manipulator without even realizing it. So, I'll just read you the rule from the card. Words like possibly, fundamentally, and basically signal a lack of commitment to a statement. Liars frequently employ these terms to obscure or gloss over incriminating details and context, and I believe that's exactly how Chris is using them here. When Chris says he was pretty much straddling her, I would bet money that he was doing far more than he's admitting. In other words, Chris appears to be generally telling us the truth, but he's using manipulative language like minimizing adverbs, exclusion qualifiers, and temporal lacunae to present it as less violent than it really was, and also to present it as if he didn't have full control over what he was doing. And that's only the stuff he's telling us. Like any deceiver, he's also likely omitting a lot of stuff, so he technically doesn't have to lie about it. So when I hit play again, look out for minimizing adverbs and exclusion qualifiers, because if you can spot these in real time in your own life, you'll be able to ask more pointed follow-up questions and be harder to fool. And that's the entire point of my channel.
I climbed in bed. That was pretty much like on top, pretty much like straddling her.
Okay.
Because she thought I was going to, like, hurt her or baby or something. So because she knew that like something had happened. She thought I was just trying to just check out or something. So and that's when it happened.
I know it's hard, but you mind if we talk to the tiny bit deeper about that? So she comes home. She touches you. You guys have sex. It seems like she's doing her test, which I understand. Sounds like you do too.
I'm sure, like, Nikki or something, Cole Atkinson or Cassie probably told her,
That's what I was thinking, right? They talked about it during that whole weekend.
more than like that. That's my parents told me there was like going through like text messages. It's like all like pretty much they all kind of just told her he's with somebody else.
Yeah. And she had spent a lot of time with the gals. That's what they did probably all weekend is talk about it, give her advice. I think that's what we found, right? Yeah. Okay. So she comes home. You guys have sex. And then did you fall asleep between then and going to work?
Yes.
Okay. So then at some point, does she wake you up or did you wake up for work?
Not a lot of points.
Oh, okay. And you're going to work out.
Yeah.
But then that's when she started wanted to talk more. She was pretty mad.
Yeah, it was, I had already kind of knew that, using that credit card is kind of,
Was that intentional?
Yeah.
I had no other way to do it.
Oh,
I used because I got these Anarco gift cards from doing good stuff at work and stuff like that. I'd use them all.
oh. Was part of me just like, screw it, whatever, I don't care. I'm using this card.
And once, part of me just wants to say, Nikki, can you pay for this? But right now, I don't know.
Yeah.
Even I think from what my attorney said, she even noticed I used a different card, like a blue card. Maybe she thought, like I felt comfortable enough just using a normal bank account or something. But I told her I was going to Iraq. I told you guys.
Yeah.
Even it felt like like looking back at everything, like just like reading the scripture more and more now, I can see like God gave me opportunities to get out. Like even my friend Jeremy Lindstrom, he even invited me because like it was his daughter that came and watched the kids on that Saturday night. And he was like, "Hey, you said we're going to a Rocky game. You want to go to me with the Bronco game and watch the Arizona Cardinals?" Like in my mind, it was like, go, just say, "Hey, I can't find a babysitter."
To Nikki.
Yeah.
Once again, Chris shifts all the blame for the affair onto Nicole. Right? She insisted on this date and he just couldn't get out of it. But that's not why I paused. The reason I paused here is because it gives us some insight into the mind of a manipulator, specifically how easily they resort to lying. As Chris just said, in his mind, his two options were to either go on the date with Nicole or cook up some lie about not being able to find a babysitter to get out of the date. Having a frank and honest discussion with her doesn't seem to have ever even crossed his mind. And I think it's this blend of psychopathic qualities that he has, as well as his aversion to confrontation, that led to the murders. As I said back in one of my Nicole Kessinger videos, the tragedy of this case and the irony of it is that it was Chris's cowardice which led to the murders, in my opinion. He was too cowardly to tell Shanann he wanted to get a divorce and deal with that fallout. And he was too cowardly to tell Nicole that what they were doing was a mistake and he wanted to break up with her. In his twisted psychopathic mind, eliminating Shanann and his children was the easier option. When someone doesn't feel emotions like love or remorse or empathy, butchering someone is a lot easier than the tedium of arguing with them for the next 18 years. It's twisted, but we're seeing some insight into the mind of a manipulative psychopath with this little anecdote.
In my mind, it was like, go, just say, "Hey, I can't find a babysitter."
To Nikki.
Yeah. And maybe that would have been like, like a light switch in my head goes off, light switch in her head goes off, maybe it just like goes different directions. That was kind of like my last opportunity to kind of get out this game. But I wish I would have said, "Yeah, let's go." Yeah. And I think that would have just put me on a different trajectory.
So then, Shanann, did she actually say you're never going to see the kids again?
She said it to me before.
Yeah. That's kind of hard to hear.
Yeah, because she'd said to me before she went to Arizona. Because like I wasn't really sleeping in the bedroom. I was sleeping on the couch or in the basement bed or something. And, like she had slammed the door. You're never gonna see the kids again. Something like that.
Did she get fiery like?
Only once in our entire relationship I ever seen her that way.
Yeah. And that was a time before, or was that on the night that it happened?
No, it was back in North Carolina.
Oh.
It was just like one of those. It was just a fiery argument that I never raised my voice to her or anything. And like, I just got mad and I slammed the door and she was like, "Ow." I'm like, should have slammed the door.
Was that when you were in North Carolina that last week?
No, it was like
Previous to
this
that?
was like 2010, 2011.
Oh.
It was like early. In her old house.
Before kids?
Yes.
Were you dating or were you married at that point?
Dating.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just like I don't remember what it was about. I think some girl maybe texted me like from my past or something, and like it was just like this, and she was like, don't have that happen again. And I was just like, I can't have friends,
Right.
They're females. Like
Right.
I don't even talk to this woman anymore.
Right.
And it was just like, no,
Was she fiery? Did she have that Italian blood that her mom has?
Lord, yes.
Was she always like that, or was she? Did she snap at things?
She would snap at me, but you could tell like something really irked her a little bit.
Yeah.
It would come out.
0 to 100 type thing, or what?
Yeah, 0 to 200.
Oh, interesting.
She's
Bold liars like Casey Anthony or OJ Simpson can just make up a story on the spot. Calculating liars like Chris are more manipulative. They'd rather divert the conversation to avoid lying in the first place. For example, if they're faced with an incriminating question, they might start crying or storm off, or even arguing with their accuser to put their accuser on the defensive. When Chris describes how he and Shanann argued about him potentially cheating, it seems like that was his MO. He'd make her reaction the issue, rather than what he did to cause that reaction. Like blame shifting, this is a common manipulation tactic. It's called U2. You catch your kid vaping and ground them? Well, you used to smoke, Mom. How can you punish me for it? Where do you get off? Or a thief resists arrest and gets tased? I can't believe you tased me. That's excessive force. The U2 technique works because our instinct is to immediately defend ourselves. And when we do, the manipulator takes full advantage to wriggle off the hook. They make sure the conversation never comes back to what they did. The officers interviewing Chris here are trained, so arguing with them is unlikely to work. However, I'll let you in on a little secret. Chris has been using another common manipulation technique to evade their questions. He's been doing it for the past couple minutes, and they haven't picked up on it. So when I hit play, see if you can spot it.
She would snap at me, but you could tell like something really irked her a little bit.
Yeah.
It would come out.
0 to 100 type thing, or what?
Yeah, 0 to 200.
Oh, interesting.
She gets acclimated about something. She's like, all right, it's gonna happen.
Well, that's why she was probably so successful at Thrive, right?
Oh yeah, like she had done a couple other like direct sales business, but this one was just like it was different.
Why?
This one like, 'cause I think she had done like Origami Owl and like something called like It Works, and then like just other couple other things like some mags and stuff like that. But the supplement stuff, it just because it worked with her, it worked with me. She's like, okay, I can kind of like use this as like, all right, this is what it's doing for us.
Yeah.
And then like after a little while, like she could see how like people are above her, how it was helping them, and then it was just like trickle down effect.
Mm.
It was like a good system about like commission wise and everything was just she could use all the business IQ she has from running those cell phone shops and from the Dirty South custom shops, all that. I mean, she business minded. Yeah, she knows how to do accounting book like back of her hand. So that all just like fell into place with all that.
So then on that night, was it just a new type of fight?
It was,
Never had, or what? What happened?
yeah, totally different type of fight. It was, it was just felt like, I don't know, it was more anger than anything else. Like there was emotion to it at first, and then it just felt like it was just anger. It was just like, like there was no love there. It was kind of like what we were saying, what she was saying. It was just like, it's almost like we knew like something was coming at each other. We didn't know, like it wasn't ourselves.
Really?
No.
Anger from you or anger from her?
I think it was more anger from me and more like desperation from her to, because she wanted to fix it.
Yeah.
She knew something wasn't right. Like, like when the whole thing with my parents happened with my parents called it gate.
Go ahead.
Nutgate.
What's that?
Oh, you know, the peanut.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, with her family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pistachio ice cream or whatever.
Yeah, they people
Nutgate.
I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard that either.
yeah, I guess what people were calling it.
Okay.
But that was like another out. Like, maybe I could have just like stopped everything with Nikki and just kind of concentrated on helping like whatever happened there. Because Shannon had a story, my mom had a story. Like, whatever happened. I probably asked my 10-year-old nephew probably to tell me what actually happened.
Well, and they both have their feelings for good reasons, and they both didn't see it the other person's way. And
Yeah, and like maybe because I didn't talk to my parents from then on until like August 6th.
Ask yourself, how many times have the interviewers tried to bring Chris back to the night in question? Who brought up Peanutgate? Who brought up the fights with Shanann generally rather than the night in question? Whenever the interviewers bring him back on track to talk about what he did the night he murdered his family, he finds a way to go off on a tangent about some other topic. Now, as far as these interviewers go, they might recognize that he's going on tangents, but unsophisticated interviewers fall for this all the time. I see this happen on podcasts constantly. As we listen on, note how it's Chris who perpetuates the conversation about Peanutgate, because he wants them to stay on that topic.
Shannon had a story, my mom had a story. Like, whatever happened. I probably asked my 10-year-old nephew probably to tell me what actually happened.
well, and they both have their feelings for good reasons, and they both didn't see it the other person's way. And
Yeah, and like maybe because I didn't talk to my parents from then on until like August 6th, and like my dad took that whole week off.
you didn't talk to your parents from then on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like my Janelle was like, do not talk to them, do not call them, do not do anything.
Is that what she said?
Yeah, and the Cece's birthday was 17th, but I think the actual birthday party was like a couple days after,
In August?
July.
July.
And like my mom or my dad was gonna go, but then there was like a post on Facebook about allergies and stuff like that. She had made, and my dad was like, "No, I just can't do it anymore." Just like because
He perceived that as her taking a shot type thing?
yeah,
Okay.
like she always says she never put those posts directed at anybody. But she had a
If
method.
you read them, you know who it's talking about.
She had a method to the madness, and see it.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish I could have just took more time just to fix that.
Yeah.
Like I wanted my parents to be involved. Like since like the whole wedding thing, and then up to that, it was like my mom, my sister were always like combating with Shannon combating with them. And my dad was always cool. Like he's just like me. He's just like go with the flow. Like I just want everybody to get along type deal.
Chicks,
I
man.
loved your dad.
Oh, he's the best.
Isn't he? I loved your dad.
I'm sorry, keep going.
That's I just wish I could have like just when we were at the beach in August. Like my dad was supposed to take through the whole week off just so we could see the kids, like see me, like we have a cookout at my sister's house or something. And then, but we just pretty much spent 5 days at the beach. And Shannon like booked it, so like I mean, I don't want to say like punishment for them not to see the kids, but like I wanted them to see it, see them. Just I wish I could have fixed all that. And I even like when I was at the beach, I told Shanann that it was more like what was going on was more of like I feel like, my dad's my hero. I feel like I've lost like something in my life. I haven't talked to him for 3 weeks. And I haven't been see the kids for 2 weeks, on FaceTime or anything.
Mm.
And I wanted them to be able to have that relationship. And she was pretty much gung ho, and like she tried to kill my daughter by giving her. I was like, I don't think she gave it to him. But
And that wasn't her stance. Is that your mom?
put something in front of CC.
Like to kill her or
No, this
to-
Notice how Chris has taken them down the path of Peanutgate to his relationship with his father and the relationship with his nephew and Shanann and his parents. And a few summers ago, this is a classic textbook tangent, and the longer he goes on, the more sensitive he must be about the night of the murders, because he's doing everything he can to avoid talking about it, which is why I really want to hear what he has to say. Thankfully, the detectives are going to bring him back on track once and for all, and we're going to get into the specifics of the murder. That's coming up soon. So when we listen to that part, we're going to be listening for clues in his language that he didn't act alone or that he was following a premeditated plan. That said, I still think he acted alone, but the fact that Nicole deleted all of her text messages with him before going to the police means she's forfeited the right to the benefit of the doubt. So we'll be listening very closely for words and any other cards from the deception deck related to lying and deception instead of what we did here, which was manipulation, evasion, and distraction. I recommend watching the video on your screen next. It's about another murderous father, and the similarities to Chris are chilling. If you want to continue this series, let's get this video to 50,000 views. Until next time, stay true.